Hello. Welcome back to my channel. So today is going to be a story time of why I quit my job. So a little bit of background, the whole reason I wanted to start this whole YouTube channel was because I had quit an awful job. I was like, I'm over this, I'm done. And let me get back into something that I know I can be really passionate about and be fully creative with. So that's why we're here. So to start this story time off, I need to go over some just general facts to keep in mind. Facts about the restaurant, facts about the work environment that don't change throughout the story. It is fast casual, which means you go up to a counter, you order your food, you take a number, and then you go sit down and we'll bring it out to you, okay? This is not a table service restaurant. That does sort of fluctuate a little bit towards the end, but across the board, it pretty much stays fast casual the whole time. Next, the character of Becky. She is one of the managers, and throughout the entire story, she doesn't give a fuck. I'm not going to say she's totally irrelevant to the story, but I need you to keep in mind that throughout all of these goings on and throughout this whole story, you have a whole ass manager, not an assistant manager, not a new manager. She's been there forever. A whole ass manager who does not give a single fuck about what's going on. Okay? So, Becky doesn't care. She could care less. Next, I worked at this restaurant from late February to early August and was moved on to the bar in, I want to say, around 2.5 months, because I know for a fact I was on the bar in less than 90 days of working there. I did not start as a bartender. There was no inkling of me even training to become a bartender when I first started working there. I was exclusively a front of house staff member. So what does that mean to be front of house? So when you're front of house, you are taking orders, bussing tables. For a little bit there, we were running Expo too, which is so fun. And you're just kind of floating around being like, oh, do you guys need anything? We're pre-bussing, we're talking to customers, doing table touches. So it's a little bit of an all-encompassing role. We just aren't specifically assigned sections and specifically serving tables. So let's go back to the beginning. The main characters for our story right now are going to be Charles, who is our lovely manager throughout part of the story. Becky, who, again, I need to remind you, does not give a single fuck about anything happening right now. The owner, the head of HR, David, Lauren, Julie, and we'll say Leslie. So I come into this restaurant having a good amount of time working in the industry as a whole. I know how to do my stuff, and I take pride in my job. I make sure I show up early. My uniform always looks good. I'm always going out of my way to make myself available, to create a good guest experience, all of that stuff. I am good at my job. I know how to do all of the minutia. And I come in bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to this new job at this new restaurant group and in this new place that I just moved to, and I'm so excited. And for the first, I want to say 2 months of me working there, over that initial hump of oh, I'm in a new restaurant again, it was nice. It was a good job, good pay for what I was doing. It was an overall good situation. So I went to Charles, our lovely, lovely manager, and I was like, I've been doing this stuff, and I want you to train me to put me on bar. And he goes, okay, I got you. We'll make it happen. So I'm all excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way that worked. So because it's a lot better money, so much better money, because you're not sharing tips with anybody. And that's the one thing I'd never done in a restaurant. I had never bartended. So I was really excited to learn. So he pulls me aside, and that's where I meet Lauren. Lauren is, I wouldn't say she was ever given the official title of head bartender, but she's been there since the restaurant opened in December, okay? So, and for the longest time, it was just her bartending. 6 days a week, pulling doubles, back to back to back to back. She built up a really good clientele, all of that stuff. She was moving. Don't get me wrong, she has her faults, we'll get to that. But from a work ethic perspective, she helped build that bar from the ground up. So I meet Lauren. The first interaction was weird because he pulls Lauren aside with me, and Lauren thinks she's in trouble, something happened, she fucked up. But Charles explains that, no, this is going to be your newest bartender, because currently, at this point in time, she's not the only bartender anymore, but it's a general opinion across the restaurant that the other bartender, Leslie, is not up to par. I never fully got why. I think it's just because he was a little quieter and was just more like reserved. Like, he's not a yappy bartender, which I'm a yappy bartender. Oh my God. So I guess that's what they were looking for, and he just wasn't that. Like, he knew how to do most of the stuff, and he had a couple of regulars that were really there for him, but it was kind of widely regarded that he wasn't the best at his job. So Lauren is immediately like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, okay, cool. I get to do this. I'm so excited. So I would say I'm about a week into training, and in comes David and Julie. David comes in as a manager because Charles is leaving. He gets scouted, actually, like, by the owner of this big chain, and is like, I want you managing at my restaurants. And it worked. He gets better hours, better pay. It's a better situation for him overall. So it's one of those situations where, like, fuck you for leaving because you were a great boss, but I'm really happy for you, you know? So they bring in David, and from what I understand, David brings in Julie, because Julie was a bartender, and I put that in air quotes for a reason. We'll get to that. She was a bartender at the last place that David worked, which closed down. Just keep that in mind. The last restaurant he was at, he joined, and then they shut down shortly after that. It could have been connected, could have not been connected. I don't know. I'm just making an observation. Julie comes in, and she's supposed to be a bartender. She got hyped up as having 3 years of bartending experience, and she can do all of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. This is another person. Lauren does not like this. I think it's because she felt threatened by the possibility of a girl coming in who already knew her stuff. So she, right out the gate, before even meeting Julie, does not fucking like her, which is a crazy way to treat people, but whatever. From there, Lauren starts training. She starts training Julie, and immediately she's like, this girl has no personality. She has no idea what the fuck she's doing. She shouldn't be bartending, da-da-da-da-da. Julie is also getting trained on front of house, but she's predominantly on the bar, because I guess she was hired as a bartender. Meantime, David is managing to bump heads with literally everybody. If I could think of a couple words to sum up David's personality, I would say he wears blazers that are too tight and is a misogynistic asshole. You want to talk about somebody that will talk down to you over the smallest fucking things, but the second he sees you as a peer, by peer I mean another fucking dude, he's like, oh, hey man, what's up, like, da-da-da-da. God forbid you're a woman who works for him, because holy shit, he is one of the most misogynistic men I've ever worked with in my life. It's kind of crazy. David is managing to bump heads with everybody. Him and Charles got into it in front of me. I watched this happen. The main way to sum up the argument is Charles is emphasizing the importance of keeping your staff happy and really working with them on stuff, because that's what makes the restaurant run, which is the same philosophy I have. If you have staff that's unhappy, you can totally tell when you go to sit down in a restaurant. David is like, oh, no. The needs of the restaurant come first, actually. And I've never seen a more numbers obsessed man. Oh my God. He's like, well, we're losing money here. We're losing money here. For a new restaurant, the numbers that's not in the immediate downtown area, we are pulling excellent numbers. I have no idea what this guy was talking about. We were doing very well for a restaurant that wasn't even a full year into being open. So I get being numbers concerned, but that was the crux of his argument, that you shouldn't pay as much attention to your staff because numbers, money. Charles kind of put him in his place, and he's like, this is not a constructive conversation. You're wrong. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to need you to calm the fuck down. This is still my restaurant. I'm not leaving for a couple more weeks, and while I'm here, this is how we're going to run things. And I was like, pop off, girl. Snaps for you. Oh my God. So David's relationship with Lauren wasn't great either. He was immediately kind of weird towards her. Lauren has her faults. I think she turns out to be a mean girl by the end of this story. But I will say the way David was kind of treating her and talking down to her was weird. It was really weird. And the only reason it got addressed was because I told Lauren, you need to go to HR. The way he's talking to you is like weird and ridiculous and like not good. Because he was making jokes about the fact that she was sleeping with somebody else in the restaurant and just really inappropriate stuff for a manager to be doing. Their relationship was always very strained. And I think he kind of associated Lauren with me because Lauren was the one who trained me. I don't know. It was complicated. So from there, we continue to train, and less people fuck with David. Like, First, it's a couple servers and our assistant manager, Olivia, who doesn't like him. And then I'm kind of starting to like listen to what people are saying. Mind you, I've been at this restaurant now and I'm one of 4 bartenders. He has not said a fucking word to me. I think it was a month before he even acknowledged I existed, which as a manager, fuck you. Anyways, not even just me, and I wasn't the only person. There were multiple other people that were like, yeah, I've just never fucking talked to him. He's never like, he'll float around the bar, he'll float around the floor, and he'll just like not acknowledge any of the staff. Crazy shit, but whatever. Let me rewind for a little bit. When brought me on as a bartender, I was told by him that he would give me 3 to 4 shifts a week. Significantly more than front of house. I think most nights on average are going to be making like 80 to 150 bucks a night, so it's not like a crazy busy bar, but you know, it's still better than front of house. Becky claims that Charles never told her that I was supposed to get 3 to 4 shifts a week. After Charles left, I brought up to Becky that that wasn't happening, that I wasn't getting the shifts I was promised I was going to get. All she had to say was, oh, well, I wasn't told that, and we've hired on a girl who's like actually supposed to bartend and not front of house, so there isn't anything I can do. I need you to keep in mind, Charles and Becky were very close. They were, I wouldn't say they were best friends, but they were definitely like a step up above coworkers. Like they would hang out outside of work, you know, stuff like that. So I'm calling bullshit. I don't have any evidence for that. That's just me being Delulu, but whatever. So as Charles gets ready to leave and after he goes, David kind of continues to be more condescending and want to start changing shit and starts to really overstep Becky. Mind you, I will not defend Becky in this story, but I will say that she had been there longer and knows the restaurants better, and David was just trying to swing his dick around and like big dick her basically out of being the head manager, which crazy shit, but whatever. He is now set on turning this fast casual restaurant into a table service restaurant. Now, I need you to keep in mind, most of the staff are high schoolers who have never worked in a restaurant before and are objectively bad at their job. Editing Julia here, I need to clarify, I'm not just shitting on a bunch of children for being in high school and being young and not knowing how to do their job. David didn't want to teach them how to do it. There was no structured training plan. He was just like, oh, well, you've been here for a month. You must know what you're doing. Here, train this new hire. So you just had unqualified people training unqualified people training unqualified people. I'm not just shitting on them because they're like young children. I don't want to sound like a dick, but David wasn't doing what he needed to do to actually make sure that these kids who were struggling with how to do their job were able to learn how to do it. It was really quickly turning into a hot mess. And amidst all of this hot mess and the overhiring and undertraining, he decides we really need to make this restaurant table service. We're going to start training people how to do that. By training, he meant giving them little handheld registers and sending them out onto the floor. There was no training on how to like properly sell drinks. There was no training on how to kind of figure out tipping because you're now taking care of this table, but you're not getting the tip. It's going towards the whole restaurant because it's a tip share thing. Bartenders weren't being tipped out. It was crazy. And customers were very unhappy. They were like, this is confusing as shit. Because we ended up having to do it where food was one ticket item, drinks was another one. So we had one lady be like, I don't want to keep swiping my card. This is ridiculous. Like, da-da-da-da-da. And I get why. Girl, I totally get why. Because it's a dumb system that you can't fully implement unless you fully implement. There isn't really any half-assing switching to full service with an undertrained staff. I'm sorry. So that caused a myriad of issues and just made everybody more antsy towards David. Amidst all of these problems, decides to roll out the position of team lead. Anybody who was a bartender and a few other select members of front of house staff were moved up to team lead, myself included. And this caused a lot of issues really quickly for a couple reasons. One, team leads were now getting more of the tip share, and he refused to just send something out about that in our work group chat. So it then turned into a situation where other members of staff would be like, oh, I heard you were a team lead. Like, what's going on with that? And I was like, yeah, I don't really know. I don't have all the information yet. I just have like XYZ more responsibilities. And I'm like doing some of the roles of an assistant manager. And then they would ask, are you getting paid more? And I had to have the uncomfortable conversation, both me and all of my peers who were team leads, of, yes, we are. Why didn't David tell you? We're getting more of the tip share. It's not even a pay increase. It's you are getting, if you're not a team lead, you're getting less money, which that is not something you want to neglect to tell your fucking staff. That's not something that should be spread by word of mouth. David, are you fucking kidding me? That's insane. So that was a whole fucking problem. And in reality, I swear to God, I think that role was created just so he could pass the buck on how to do anything. That man had no idea how to run the register. God forbid you put him on Expo. And as a bartender, there were multiple times he would try and make a drink for like a guy who was chatting up at the bar. And then I would have to remake it because it was disgusting. You want an example? This motherfucker made an old fashioned with cherry juice. The dark cherries, the syrup that's inside of that, he was like, simple syrup, who? We're going to dump a fuck ton of... He didn't even measure it. He just took the fucking jar, held the cherries in place, dumped out the syrup. Because the customer, after the fact, he was trying to be polite. He didn't want to seem like an asshole. So he calls me over and he's like, this is disgusting. I can't. I was like, okay, let me try. So I take my little straw, I do a little straw trick to where I can like pull out liquid or whatever. It tasted like fucking cough syrup. Because this man has no idea how to bartend, no idea how to run the fucking register, and no idea how to do Expo. The core parts of running a fucking restaurant for front of house, no idea how to fucking do. Which is, as a manager, what the fuck? Figure your shit out, man. It's not that fucking hard. If you are convinced that a bunch of untrained high schoolers can do it, why can't you? Why can't you? So meanwhile, while all of this is going on, the relationship between Julie and Lauren is souring so quickly, it's not even funny. Lauren is talking insane amounts of shit about Julie. Julie was not a great bartender. I think she lied about how much experience she had, which there wasn't a reason to. I mean, obviously they will train you up from having no experience to being a bartender. They did the same thing for me. So there wasn't a reason to lie about it. A couple of examples as to why I don't think she has 3 years of bartending experience is... Somebody ordered a Manhattan and she didn't, you're supposed to put the ingredients in to a mixing glass, stir it, and then strain it. There's no ice in there. She just poured all the shit into the glass and just handed it to him. There was no stirring. There was no, not even shaking, which you're not supposed to do either. Just fucking, here you go. And then like lukewarm, like a lukewarm fucking drink. What the fuck? Okay. And then the other one was she put, maybe her straining ability wasn't that great, but she put ice into a fucking martini. And her martinis tasted like fucking olive juice. This person did not order a dirty martini. They ordered a fucking martini, just a regular fucking martini with the vermouth and everything. It just tasted like olive juice. But okay. Her shaking skills were not on par with somebody who's been bartending for 3 years. That's all I'll say about it. She could have been telling the truth, but based on those factors, I don't think she has as much bartending experience as she claims she does. She definitely has some. It wasn't like nothing, but she doesn't have 3 years. Their relationship continues to sour, and at this point, keep in mind, David is looking for a reason to throw Lauren off the bar. I'm not going to say that Lauren getting fired was not, spoiler, Lauren gets fired. I'm not going to say that that wasn't justified. But keep in mind, David was looking for a reason to fire her. He did not like her at all. So, we get down to the day. This was on a Friday, which means there's 2 bartenders in the evening. I was supposed to be front of house. I called out that day because I got food poisoning. And thank fucking God I did. Because... So... Julie overheard Lauren talking shit about Julie to some of our regulars, saying that Julie was fucking David. Keep in mind, Lauren was fucking one of our head chefs. She was fucking and semi-living with one of our head chefs. So she somehow got the gumption and the gall to talk to some of our regulars and say that Julie was fucking David. And Julie overheard. Julie overheard because Lauren was not being slick about it. She hadn't been slick about talking shit up to that point, so I have no idea how this didn't get brought up sooner. And Julie's like, nope, I'm done. So she goes to Becky and she goes to our Olivia, our assistant manager, and is like, this is what's going on. I'm going to lose my fucking shit. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, we're done. And they fucking fired Lauren on the spot. And it was, oh, Lord. They were like, nope, you're done. And Lauren kept saying, I'm not that kind of person. I don't know. I wouldn't say that. Olivia heard her fucking say it. She heard her say it before Julie came to her and was like, hey, this is what's going on. So that's not true. So that was a whole fucking mess. So then stuff gets thrown up into the air. Everything's really rocky. Okay. I come in on Saturday. Julie tells me the situation and I'm just like, oh fuck. I had no idea. That's crazy. Also, I didn't know that David and Julie didn't know that Lauren was talking shit. Lauren was never slick about talking shit about either of them. So I don't know how that slipped past them, but whatever. So I come in and I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. And it just makes an already kind of toxic and uncomfortable work environment a little bit weirder because Julie and David do have some kind of relationship outside of work. They did before they both started working there. This is unconfirmed, but I heard it from a source that is close to David, works in the restaurant, is one of the characters I named, but I can't say who. She claimed that Julie is on David's deed to his house. They hang out late hours after work. He's her emergency contact. Kind of weird. David's married and has kids. I'm married. I don't have kids, but if my husband was hanging out with another woman the way David was hanging out with Julie, I would have lost my fucking mind. So do with that what you will. But there was some kind of, like, and they would, like, leave work together, too, at the same time. He would, like, ride with her home. So, yeah, just, there was something weird going on there. Does that mean what Lauren did was appropriate? Fuck no. You should not be telling our fucking regulars that so-and-so's fucking so-and-so unless it's your own personal business. If it's your own shit, go for it, but it's not. So, that was awkward. In the meantime, I had mentioned to both Becky and David that I wanted to start cross-training and bartending at some of the other restaurants in our restaurant group downtown. And, of course, I told Becky this once, and she was like, oh, yeah, I'll ask around, because she actually knows all of the managers downtown. Nothing fucking happened on that end. And then I asked David the same thing. I asked David 2 questions. These were part of the main contributing factors to me quitting. I asked David 2 questions. 1, are we going to hire another bartender? Because we had 3 at this point. And he goes, no, we're good. We're good. And I'm like, okay, I know you're going to go talk to these managers tomorrow from downtown and go meet them. Can you go find out if they have another slot open for bartender? Because the bar manager of the whole restaurant group told me they did. And he goes, yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, I'll totally do that. I got you. Don't even worry about it. And I'm like, okay, because I was still not getting the shifts I was told by Charles. But at that point, I was like, it's not going to fucking happen. The only opportunity I have is to somehow cross-train downtown. I was leaving for a trip to LA. Before I left for this trip to LA, I was told when I get back, I was going to have a set schedule where I had bar shifts and that was it. And I was told that David checked with the other managers downtown and nobody had a slot open. And I'm like, okay, that sucks. Well, I'm going to LA. I'll have fun. I'll be back in a week and we'll nail down my schedule because we only had 3 bartenders. And he's like, oh, wait, well, yeah, no, by the way, we did hire one more girl, but she's going to be between here and another restaurant, so don't worry about it. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Because I asked you, are we going to hire another bartender like 3 fucking days ago? And you were like, no. So I don't know what that means, but whatever. So I go on this trip with my sister to LA. It's a lot of fun. Saturday, the night before I come home, I check my schedule for the upcoming week. I have 1 bar shift on Monday, which is objectively the worst day to do it, and 3 front of house shifts, when I was told that that wasn't going to be happening anymore. I saw my schedule, was pissed off, was talking to my husband on the phone about it, and I was like, well, let me go check Indeed, because the amount of times I was checking Indeed trying to find somewhere else to fucking work throughout the past 3 months of me working there, mind you, I'd only been there since February, which really says something, I was like looking for other jobs. So I go check Indeed again. My fucking restaurant group has a new job posting for bartender. And after I was told, no, they don't have any slots open, sorry. Okay, I'm done. So I come home, I text Luke, like, while I'm at the airport, hey, I think I'm gonna quit. He was like, wait till you're off the flight when I pick you up and we can get dinner and we can talk about it. And I'm like, okay. So We get dinner, we talk about it, and he's like, yeah, this is the right choice. This is the only time I've quit a job this abruptly. I've only quit my job one other time because I wasn't getting the hours I was told, and they still got a full 2 weeks notice. I told them I was quitting Monday afternoon. I had work the next fucking day. So I send them a message, and I'm like, nope, I quit. I'll be there. I'll be by to pick up my last check at some point this week. Thank you. Bye. Because I don't need a reference from this place because the assistant manager, Olivia, loves me and I love her. So she could totally give me a reference if I needed one. I ended up getting another job like a week later. So we're good. So yeah, I have now quit. I've told my close friends at work that I've quit. We hang out, we yap, we catch up. I find out from a higher up member of staff that David was planning to take me off the bar fully, because he had hired a girl he had been flirting with, a cart girl from the golf course. Mind you, this is a significant pay cut. Taking somebody off the bar and putting him back on front of house, this is a significant fucking pay cut. You do not make nearly as much money on front of house as you do the bar. And this isn't the first time he's done this. Leslie quit a month ago because David did the same thing to him, where there was no conversation. It was just, okay, you're off the bar, bye. Fuck you, bye. And Leslie was like, fuck you, I'm going back to my old job. I'm not doing this. So he quit. And they were going to do the same fucking thing to me. And it wasn't like oh, sorry, your schedule was weird. No, I have confirmation from a higher up member of staff that David said that to this person. And they asked why. And he was like, well, I need her for a team lead. Because every other team lead had quit because the fucking job was just covering David's ass because he didn't know how to do any part of it. We were closing down the fucking restaurant. We were ending the day on the registers, counting fucking money, stuff that is a manager's fucking job. It was, and almost everybody he had put in as a team lead who had been there since like basically almost day one of the restaurant opening had quit because they were sick of his fucking shit and they were sick of getting fucked around with. I already have this confirmation from this higher member of staff that he was going to take me off the bar anyway. So I'm like, okay, you know what? No, this was the right fucking decision. So just to recap, I've quit because I was lied to about whether or not there were openings downtown. I was going to be taken off of the bar without any sort of conversation prior, and I was doing stuff well above my pay grade as a team lead. For all of those reasons, that's why I quit my job. But here's the epilogue, because so much shit happened in the 2 weeks after I left. Let me pull up the email. So, I am petty. And I decide, this guy was a dick. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. He's managed to alienate both front of house and back of house. So I'm going to send an email to our head of HR. Okay, so let's read this email together. Good afternoon. Thank you for hiring me as a front of house member at XYZ restaurant. As of the day I quit, I have ended my employment with the restaurant group. This decision was difficult, but it stemmed primarily from the hiring of David as a manager and his ongoing behavior and decisions. David's management style has caused significant concern amongst the staff, including myself. He has repeatedly demonstrated a lack of honesty with employees, resistance to learning critical roles within the restaurant, and has made changes that have negatively impacted both staff and customers. One example is his handling of bartender assignments. On 2 occasions, bartenders were removed from their roles without any prior communication. The only indication of this change was a new schedule diminishing their hours on the bar. Because bartenders typically earn more than front of house staff, this lack of communication about a significant pay cut suggests avoidance of difficult conversations. When David created the position of team lead, he failed to inform the rest of the staff that the creation of this role would come with a pay reduction for non-team leads, i.e., if you're a team lead, you're getting more of the tip pool. Once again, he delegated the responsibility of delivering this news to someone else rather than addressing it himself. This trait is particularly undesirable of a manager. There were repeated instances where front of house staff, including myself, needed to correct mistakes made at the register. As a bartender, I frequently had to remake drinks for customers due to poor quality and taste. Lack of bartending experience was evident, and up until my departure on the day I quit, he had taken no steps towards improvement. These issues are not unique to me. Other staff members, both current and former, have expressed similar concerns about David's demeaning and dismissive behavior. Several employees who have been with this restaurant since its opening have left due to the negative working environment he has fostered. While there are additional examples The above situations encapsulate the primary problems with David's management. Thank you for your attention to these concerns. Regards, Julia. So their response. This is a bullshit response, but I do think that my email had some kind of impact in my delusional brain. I'll tell you why in a second. Hello, Julia. We're sorry to hear that you've decided to end your employment at XYZ restaurant. I have forwarded your email to our head of HR to look into the concerns you mentioned. Blank, or the guy's name. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Bullshit email. I did my due diligence. I warned him and I was like, hey, this guy's a fucking asshole. And I don't hear anything for a couple days. So I have 3 friends outside of work. Olivia, who's assistant manager, Carly, and Jayla. So Olivia's the assistant manager. Carly and Jayla, we were all team leads. We've all been there for basically the same amount of time. Jayla and I have quit. We were both really good at our jobs, and we were like, no, fuck this shit, I'm out. Carly's still there. I get a text from both Olivia and Carly being like, David just got fired. And I'm like, oh, really? What happened? They're like, oh, it just happened. We don't have any information yet. And I'm like, okay, I'll wait. And I text Jayla, and I'm like, hey, this is what I just heard. And she's like, oh my God, no, shut up. I'm actually going back there to have dinner, and I'll let you know what I find out. This morning, she texts me, and she's like, I don't know the exact reason, but I was told that the bullshit reason they gave him was they didn't have the sufficient funds to cover his salary. What? Insufficient funds? You should figure that out before you hire somebody, which is why I am 1000% convinced they were fucking lying about the real reason. All I'm going to say is my email and the timing of all that might have added up to something, because I know that is not the first time somebody's made an HR complaint against him. But whatever. Anyways, that is the story of all of the restaurant drama leading up to me quitting my job. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is my second video, so if there's any tips or tricks you want to leave in the comments or any improvements with the lighting or background, just let me know. Drop it down there. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys next week with a new upload. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!